Okay, Lions and Vikings preview. I waited till after the trade deadline to do this video in case the Lions made another move so I can address it. So yes, I know about the Golden Tate trade. I will talk more about the Tate trade at the end of the video. I'll make a different segment for it. I'm instead right now going to talk about the Vikings game this Sunday. So game Sunday, this is a really tough game. Really hard game. Vikings, I know they're coming off a hard loss against the Saints, but don't let that fool you. The Saints are a really good team. Saints are easily a Super Bowl contender this year. Like, the Vikings, don't underestimate them. Do not underestimate the Vikings. You know, by the way, Minnesota fans, if you all thought this was a hate video, you all just got clickbaited. But yeah, this team is good. The Vikings are easily the favorite to win the North this year. Like, let's take a look at this team offensively. Offensively, quarterback, they got an upgraded quarterback from Case Keenum to now Kirk Cousins. You know, Kurt's a pretty good quarterback. He didn't really have that much success because he was with Washington. But with Minnesota, we're really seeing how good he really is. You know, he's a good quarterback. Not gonna lie. Think he's deserved the $98 million he's getting. You also look at running back. They got different options with Dalvin Cook and with Tavis Murray. Yeah, they struggled running the ball all year, but we've struggled stopping the run this year. That was before we got Snacks Harrison. Even though last week we struggled. But yeah. So yeah, if Snacks Harrison's going to make an impact, I see it being this week, possibly. If it's true that Minnesota does struggle running the ball, that also means their O-line is pretty meh. But you know, you look at offensively, their wide receivers. Kirk Cousins has great weapons. You look at receiver, he's got a great receiver punch duo in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. I want to go on and say Adam Thielen's the best wide receiver in the league. He's definitely a top 5 for sure. Top 5 for sure. You know, Stephon Diggs is very talented too. You also they also have a tight end weapon in Kyle Rudolph, one of the best tight ends in the game today. You know, O-line, I already mentioned that. You look at defense. Defense is really this team's bread and butter. Defensive line, really good. Minnesota, one of the top teams at stuffing the run this year. They got a really good defensive line with Laval Joseph, Sheldon Richardson, and Everson Griffin. You know, they got a pretty talented linebacker in Anthony Barr. You also look at their secondary. Pretty decent, too. You got Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith, 2 great corners and safeties. Actually, I looked at the stats. Somehow we surrender less passing yards than Minnesota. Well, I think to be fair, I think honestly in secondary we're a lot better man-to-man than zone. Zone, we completely suck ass. But honestly, like, the secondary's good. Don't let the stats fool you. Minnesota's defense is good. We cannot underestimate the Vikings. They are a good team. But overall, I don't see us winning this game. I don't. This Vikings team is so good. Like, I know they had that rough start to the year, but they're starting to hit their stride again. They're starting to figure it out. Starting to get back on track. Like this team's good. Easily a favorite to win the North again this year. Unless Jeter Tribe and the Chicago Bears have something to say for that. So yeah, overall, it's going to be tough. Like, if we're going to have any shot to win this game, if we're going to have any hope in hell winning, the keys we're going to need to do, 1, we're going to need to get the crowd out of the game early and score right off the bat. That's step 1. Step 2, we got to come in with a balanced offense. Actually, I think it's going to come, if we're going to have a shot, we're going to have to rely on Stafford. Because I think we're going to have to run stuffed. Because Vikings defense is good at stuffing the run. You know, we just got to play football. It's going to be tough without Golden Tate, but you know what? Next man up. who wants to step up to the plate. You know, on defensively, not only do we got to stop the run, we also got to generate turnovers and win the turnover battle. I don't see us winning this game in Minnesota. You know, I know we won the last 2 games in Minnesota, but that was the last 2 years. I know we beat Minnesota last year on defense, where we beat them at their own game, but that was last year. This defense isn't as talented as last year's. We haven't been able to generate turnovers. And last year we were playing Case Keenum. This year we're playing Kirk Cousins. You know what? We're bound to lose one in Minnesota eventually. No, I think Snacks Harrison's going to make a good impact this week. I think we're going to see what he can really do. You know, he didn't have too bad of a game last week. He really didn't do anything flashy, but stats-wise, he didn't do anything. He was good. But defense played terrible against Seattle. So yeah, if Snacks played good, then what does that say to the other 10 guys? What does that say to secondary? And also secondary, our entire secondary, leap for the goddamn ball when it's up in the air. Because seriously, a lot of the touchdowns we surrendered this year are big plays. It's because our secondary doesn't even make an attempt to jump in the air and either swat the ball away or go for an interception. Like seriously, there's at least 1 or 2 Seattle touchdowns where the Seahawks receiver, I think it was Lockett, leaped for the ball. I think Lawson was covering Lockett on one of them, and he didn't even make an attempt to jump for the ball. Try and swat it away. Like, do something. But yeah, want a score prediction? I'm going to say Vikings 27-13. You know, there's that question mark about where they could lose a few of their defensive starters because of injury. You know, I mean, the most Detroit thing to do is after the loss of Seattle is go up to Minnesota and beat an injury-riddled Viking squad and go 4-4. You know what? One reason why I have some doubts, I'm going to talk about that with the Tate thing. So, of course, we all know about the Golden Tate trade. Yesterday we traded Golden Tate to the Philadelphia Eagles. In exchange, we get a 3rd-round pick for this year's draft. So that pick tells us that Tate was the 3rd best receiver on this team. That's why we got a 3rd-round pick. Look, folks, listen. I know a lot of fans are pissed about this. A lot of people think it's a bad move. But look, I was pissed about it at first too, don't get me wrong. But in the end, I understood the point here from a long-term perspective. Like Bob Quinn is thinking about long-term, not short-term. Like, I think Bob Quinn recognized the team's flaws right off the bat. And he's rebuilding. Like, this team is too goddamn inconsistent to do anything. Like we showed that last week, how inconsistent we were. Like, I think Bob Quinn, he's looking at the rest of the season. He doesn't see us winning the North. He doesn't see us making the playoffs. I don't now. I don't see it now. At 3-4. And we got a brutal month of football coming up in November. A brutal 5 weeks. We got 5 tough games coming up. Brutal stretch coming up. Like, Bob Quinn, he's thinking about long term. He's thinking about building for the future. He's not thinking about now. He's thinking about, we'll make this team successful 5 years down the line. We'll make it successful 10 years down the line. He's not thinking about what the fans want. He's thinking about, we'll bring this team playoff wins and success and championships. That's what he's thinking about. I know we all snicker at the championship idea, but think about it. Good GMs make aggressive moves like these. Explains why we got Snack Harrison and only gave up a 5th-round pick. He is a building piece. Harrison is a building piece to our defense. Because I'll show you our draft picks here. I'll flash them up on the screen somewhere briefly. Because you look at the picks, we have now 9 picks. Because originally, we didn't have a 3rd round pick. We traded our 3rd round pick to New England last year. I think we was to move up and draft Kerryon Johnson. It was either we were traded away to move up to get Johnson, or it was to get Deshaun Hand. I believe it was Johnson. I'll have to double check. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. Now we have 9 picks, including 2 6th rounders and 2 7th rounders. So yeah, we got a lot of picks entering the draft. Honestly, I see the season ending in one of 2 ways. Either ends with either A, us going 500 and finishing 8-8, or B, I see us just completely starting to tank here and we go like 4-12, 5-11, maybe even 6-10, get the best draft pick possible. I mean, one thing we could do now we have so many picks is we could tie a few picks together, move up in the draft, make a splash. That's one thing we could do. You know, we got a lot of possibilities entering the draft. Honestly, I already have my draft board set for round 1. I want to get a run-stuffing defensive tackle to pair up with Snacks Harrison because we need to stop that run defense. Because we struggled too much stopping the run. That needs to be addressed. But yeah. You know, secondary, we can either find a defensive back in the 2nd round, or we can try and find one in free agency. But yeah, this opens up a lot here. It also opens up more cap space. Plus, I think Calvin Johnson's contract is going to be up. So I'll also have more cap space open. You know, I think it's a good move overall. It's an unpopular opinion, but you know what? Sometimes you got to make unpopular opinions in order to be a successful football team. Look at New England. They made a lot of unsuccess. They made a lot of unpopular opinions in the past. They are aggressive when it comes to player acquisition. But they do it for the greater good. They do it for what will make them successful the long term down the line. What will bring them championships? What will make them a dynasty? Plus, you look at the Eagles. They're not thinking long term. You know, they're coming off a Super Bowl win. They're coming off ending their legacy of failure last year. Like, they're not thinking of their future. They're thinking of now. They're thinking short term. Like, their championship window, it is wide open for the taking. And I know now that Philadelphia's ended their legacy of failure, the next best thing they could do is win another championship or 2 and become a dynasty. You know, be a dynasty like the 60s Packers, the 70s Steelers, the 80s 49ers, the 90s Cowboys, the 2000s Patriots. I guess if you want, you could say currently the 2010s Patriots. I think Bob Quinn is doing what's best for the future. From a business perspective, what's best. You know, this shows that Bob Quinn knows what he's doing. It's showing that he's going to be staying. Well, he's not going anywhere along with Matt Patricia. You know, at first I was pissed, but you know what? It was a good move in the end. You know, it will make us a better team long term. As long as we get the draft right. As long as we get the draft right is a good move. But yeah. I think I addressed the whole Golden Tate thing right off the bat. But hey, you know, as long as this means Siggy Ansah resigns and he can play again, then hey, I'm all for it. Because Siggy gotta start being reliable if he wants to stay. Because if we kept going Tate, more than likely he was probably going to leave, and then we would have bitched, being said that we would have got nothing in return. Like, it was best that we traded him so we get something back in return. Because you look at Golden Tate, he's 30, he's going to be 31, going to be a free agent, pending free agent. Well, I think Detroit's mentioned their plans that, rumored that they had no plans for Tate. You know, I think it's a solid pickup. It's an unpopular opinion, but hey. Sometimes you gotta do unpopular things to be successful. Plain and simple. But yeah, I think I addressed this. I think this video has gone on long enough. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace out.